Welcome everybody to Write Better Together. Hey, what's going on? I'm not Jon Meyers. It's Boxy, everybody.
No.
Oh my goodness. And Boxy is heavy. What? Boxy, get out of my chair. Why do you even exist? We will have unboxed you months ago, probably at this point. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Listeners, let me just describe
the torture that Emily has to go through when I surprise her with things.
Jon Meyers brought on a box with googly eyes.
Oh, it's a very heavy box. I wonder what's in it.
Oh my goodness. What a mystery. I wonder what it could be. Now I can't see you because the camera is all a whack. You're all blurry now.
Dude, I look beautiful. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we have quite the list.
Yes, we do.
We are going to be talking today.
Yes.
With Fiona Ross.
Ooh, I know her.
And Sophie Gardiner.
I know her as well.
About collaboration. Also, so many things. Confidence and courage and friendship. It's great.
I like, so the world's longest, quite the list. I liked how it kept coming back to collaboration. No matter what the topic was, it kept coming back to collaboration. All right. What else is happening today?
Because they Jon Meyers, they write better together.
Oh, you're like Amy McConnell slipping that in there. Know what else they do? Guess what else they do?
What?
They write anyway.
They do write anyway.
Whether they have confidence or not.
Whether they have confidence or not.
All right.
Yeah. Before that, we're going to have listener responses. And then Sophie and Fiona are going to give you a new call to action. And then we're going to have a Hey Jon Meyers segment where I teach Jon Meyers something. And then we're going to have a silly game.
That sounds like a lot.
It's
Good thing
so
I took
much.
a nap.
Yeah. I didn't get a nap, but
I didn't either.
I had some chocolate.
That was fake news. I did not have a nap. Are we getting out of the bubble now?
Yeah. How did you get out of your bubble?
You got to go first because I have a prop in the other room. And so I will still be able to hear you as you tell the listeners about your getting out of the bubble, but I got to go get the prop.
Okay. So in this conversation, we had a little bit of a moment where we talked about like vulnerability and how stories help us relate to people and to their mistakes, and then it helps us be empathetic towards ourselves. And I had that moment. And so I'm going to tell an embarrassing story about myself so that maybe you all will relate.
I'm back for the embarrassing story. Just in time.
He's back for the embarrassing story. And I actually told this to my students today because it involves my students. And I was just being vulnerable and was like, guys, I didn't feel comfortable telling you this the other day, but I'm going to tell you now because you need to know and you're going to find out. And I think it's really funny. And they did think it was funny.
I love that you were vulnerable.
Well, I was thinking in the early days, if I made a mistake, I would like kind of freeze up in front of my students or like feel like they can't see me make a mistake because they have to respect me. And I just don't feel that way anymore. I'm just extra vulnerable now. Anyway.
I try to garner disrespect from my students.
So first day of class, I think I may have said this already, but first day of class, I was a little late.
Yes, you've said that.
Because they changed where you enter the building.
How dare
I might have said in that episode that they put me in a new room. And it was disorienting. Well, the second day of class, I was looking around the room and I was like, guys, they didn't just put me in a new room. They like moved everything from the other room into this room. Like all the stuff was on the walls. Every single thing was in the right place. They like just mirrored this room into another room.
Maybe that's what happened to the mystery girl. Maybe they like she picked up and moved into your new classroom.
Then I was walking out of class and I was walking in the hallway, going back towards where I came from, and looked back and saw the other entrance where I used to come from and realized I was just in the same room the whole time, just was disoriented because I'd come in from a different direction. This is the most embarrassing part of it. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
I was missing a converter for my projector and
Yeah.
went to the other room that I thought my other room was because of where it was located in the building from my perspective to look for it. That was never my room. I was always in the same room. That's my embarrassing story.
That's great.
So now you all can write, or I should write that into my next novel, or you can write it into your next novel because embarrassing moments are funny.
And did the
And
students
relatable.
the students you said thought that it was hilarious?
Oh yeah, they thought it was really funny. I maybe should have waited a little longer when they like knew me better because now they probably just think I'm an idiot.
Nah. They think you're authentic. So when I stay at a hotel that I've stayed at before, I always ask for the same room just for that very reason. And so if it's, I don't know. There was this one room in Illinois that I go there often, and so I always wanted room 216, and I don't go there anymore, so don't try to find me in room 216.
Okay.
One time they didn't, and then it was like I was across the hall, and it was very similar, but everything was on the wrong side, right?
Yeah.
So the refrigerator was on the wrong side and microwave on the wrong, and it was extremely disorienting when I'd been there 10 other times. Now I can't even imagine if I would taught a whole class in there for 15 weeks or whatever.
But I should have realized that I was coming in from a different direction. Like, it was so obvious. But I think I was so flustered that day because I was late and I just assumed that they wouldn't put me in the same room. And yeah.
You did say it was a different room in the
I
past.
did, yeah. How did you get out of your bubble? And what is your prop?
So
Prop. I almost said prompt.
My prompt is not a prompt. So I had to go pick up something, not that heavy package you saw earlier, and there's a specific store that they don't have here. We will already be back by the time you're watching this episode, but I'm taking our book out of its bubble, and I'm taking it on a 12-hour road trip with me.
Our book is getting out of its bubble.
Yes. And so along the way, I'm going to take pictures of it at different places. So my 12-hour drive is probably going to end up taking, I hope it doesn't take 24 hours. It's going to take forever because I'm going to take pictures of it in different places because I want it to go on a journey.
Like Flat Stanley.
Yeah. And then, so exactly. So
I'm glad you knew what I meant.
I bought it some travel companions.
Oh, no.
It'll be sitting in the passenger seat next to me
with Flat Stanley,
with Hunky Dorey from Stuckey's and a pecan log from Stuckey's.
Oh my goodness.
Because I love Unstuck, Stephanie Stuckey's new book about, she's the granddaughter of the Stuckey chain, and she's trying to reinvigorate the brand. And so you will see pictures from the road of our book along with the original pecan log from Stuckey's and along with Hunky Dory from Stuckey's. I can't promise I won't eat them on the way home. And I've already plotted out so when we get to Oklahoma City, there's 3 places that have Stuckey's products. So I will also go there. I will go to the Stuckey store, convenience store there, and our book will make an appearance in the Stuckey store. Somehow I'm making time for that. And then, and so, because I love Stuckey's products, and this is not a commercial for Stuckey's product. Speaking of, did you say
want free Stuckey's?
Free Stuckey's for life. No, I really respect this is genuine. I really respect that she took this 75-year-old brand or 80-year-old brand, and the granddaughter of the founder is like, I'm gonna resurrect this brand. How cool is that? And then she's in 100 stores, 200 stores. I just think that's cool. I would like to do that someday and resurrect a brand. That would be fun. And
yeah. What brand would you resurrect?
Well, not in my town, but in my general area, there is do you know what a ghost sign is?
Mm-mm.
So a ghost sign in folklore, people study ghost signs. signs on like the side of buildings of what, like, it used to be Miller Chevrolet and now it's a shoe store, but you can still see the faint paint
Yes.
from those,
Yeah.
like in big cities and stuff. So there's a sign for Kingery's grocery store. It's in a real little town, and it's almost like it looks like a general store on Green Acres or something. I would resurrect Kingery's grocery.
Nice.
That's what I would do.
So
All right.
we have listener responses.
Yes.
So our book has been getting out of its bubble.
Yes, like it's going to on the road trip.
And it's going across the country and to many countries. And we have we've got some great reviews. I'm just going to read one.
Okay.
This is from Lawbster. I don't know who that is. Did you ever find out who that was?
No, Lawbster, like he's a
Law. Yeah. I don't know, but they gave us 5 stars and said witty, snappy, and above all useful.
I like the snappy especially.
I like that too. If you are considering writing, desire to be a better writer, or hope to learn the tools on how best to write, this is the book for you. This book is filled with useful tools and examples of how to become the consistent and quality writer I desire to be. I got more out of this than most accredited writing courses. If you feel paralyzed by uncertainty or lack of confidence, if you want to learn how to be more effective and actually make progress with your works, or just want a good read in and of itself, this is the book for you. Stop reading this review and start reading the book, then get to writing.
I love that.
I love it too.
The cool thing about these reviews, and we'll have more of them in the future, is there's a writing lesson in them. It's not it's not to promote the book, even though it's to promote the book, but the common thread running through them is their response to the book was intentionally planned by us. Like they're saying things, they're echoing back things to us that they weren't in the meetings that we had. And I don't want people to think we had these big, long months and months and months of pre-planning meetings. We didn't. But during the process of writing it, we had meetings, and people are saying sentences that actually came out of our mouths in those meetings. And so a lot of times you don't get to hear back from the author, or you'll see an author in an interview and they'll be like, well, I'm glad that people receive this book well and that they're getting YZ out of it. I also want to make sure that they get A, B, and C out of it because that was my intention. They're getting our intention. And I think it's because we wrote it for them. And so, so far, all the reviews have been positive, but more importantly, it's like they've been a bullseye of what we were trying to do.
Yeah. It's really been really, really cool to see that.
Yeah, and I think like part of that's the power of community, but we don't know who Lawbster is, and
maybe we do, but
I think the book, and some of the reviews have mentioned this, I think the book is so inclusive that like it just feels like it's like we're in the room with them physically with the book. Who
was it who said that we were a portable cheerleader?
Yeah, and
David Holchester, I think, was the one who said that.
Yeah, like that. And well, that's what we were trying to do because we want to. It's great if 100,000 people watch the podcast, but if there's 1,000 people and we get to meet 1,000 people in the next year, how cool would that be, right?
Yeah.
Or if it were 500 and we get to meet them in person, 500 people over the course of the next 12 months, how cool would that be? And we've already met some, and we're going to meet some this weekend. And that, to me, that connection, those reviews just show that we have a connection. And I think it's because we're mindful of that. It's more them than us. I want to give them the credit.
Speaking of collaboration.
Yes.
So before our conversation with Fiona and Sophie, I'm just going to share what they do. So Fiona Faith Ross comes from a business background and has been writing screenplays for over a decade. She also writes fiction, which can be found on Amazon in her own name, F. Ross. Oh, sorry, that's in general fiction. And then F. Ross for Fantasy Quest, and Sapphire Lebesque. Is that how you pronounce that? Lebesque in historical romance and fantasy romance. And her portfolio is on Script Revolution. And we'll have the links to all of that in the show notes.
I like how you spell it out and ask me for the like. We both got mimesis wrong,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to know labaches.
Yeah.
All right, and then there's Sophie.
Sophie. This is written in first person. So I'll just say Sophie says.
But you have to do it in her French accent.
I can't do that. I'm running a website called Pilot Light Writing. So www.pilotlightwriting.com, where I help writers and screenwriters to get their writing done with ease and fun. After studying filmmaking and screenwriting in a cinema school in Paris, I'm just going to move into the third person. She worked for a French TV production company. In her 20s, she moved to the UK and worked for Ascent Media, an American post-production company. Her real passion, however, remained in screenwriting. About 8 years ago, she met Chris Jones and Lucy V. Hay at the LSF, who really convinced her to focus on screenwriting. So she became a script judge, a screenplay category for the ECU Film Festival, which is an international film festival, which she did for 5 years. About 4 years ago, she says her husband passed away, and she came back to France, which is her native country, with her 2 children, and she became a screenwriting teacher for both a cinema school and at the University of Normandy. Between work and kids, she also writes screenplays, in parentheses thrillers, on her own, and also with her co-writer, Fiona Faith Ross. With Fiona, somehow she says we always end up writing comedies, which we will definitely talk about in this conversation. And then we will also put some those things in the show notes as well.
Cool. I'm going to watch this episode.
It's so good. All right. Here is our conversation with Fiona and Sophie.
Hey, and we're back. I'm Jon Meyers. I'm still Jon Meyers from Write Better Together. Hey, look, everybody. It's still Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers. And hey, look, everybody. Hey. It's Fiona Ross and Sophie Gardiner.
Wow.
Welcome.
Hello.
We're intercontinental today.
Yes, we're all in different time zones today.
Yeah.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Southampton on the south coast in the UK. And I'm calling from France, Normandy.
From Normandy?
Wow. It's so neat that we can just talk to you all from across the world. Like, how neat is that? Great. And you all, before we started recording, you all were saying that this is how you two communicate most of the time as well, is through video call. And that's how Jon Meyers and I are too, because we're
in different continents as well. No, not really.
But
Fiona, the only thing I know about England is where London is, because I've been there. How far are you from London?
I'm about less than an hour by train or bus.
And if you walk, how long? No, I'm kidding. And then Sophie, you're 8 hours away, maybe? 9?
From you?
No, from Fiona.
Oh, from Fiona? No. Oh, well, actually, I don't know. If I take the plane, it would be 4 hours, probably.
Oh.
I used to live very close to Fiona, actually. I used to live in Dorset, so I know area very well. So no, if I take the boat, obviously the ferry, that is just out there. I can't show you it, but it's just out there. It would take me maybe 4 to 5 hours, and then another hour to get to you, Fiona. Is that not right? Yeah. The ferry is lovely and convenient, actually, because the ferry, we're both quite close to the ferry terminals.
We
so
need
we're just a boat away.
We need a ferry between us, Emily.
I know.
Yeah.
I have stuff that I need to give you, and I can't get it to you.
Yeah.
So they are both, as Emily established when she read the bio earlier, they're both writers of their own accord, but they're working on a project together. Tell us about that project, and I don't even know, are you in the middle of it, at the beginning of it, at the end of it? So both of you tell us about what you're working on together.
Well, it's our second project. We finished the first one, and we're
just coming up to the midpoint of the second one, we're writing scenes because we've done all the preliminaries. Yeah.
Are you both
So
people that
the-
write in order? Are you tackling the outline in order, or are you writing out of order?
No. We are writing in order. We spend a lot of time outlining.
Yeah.
We start with the characters. Well, we have a concept first, and then we bring characters in, and then we live with them because we're so far apart. We need to know exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And once we know them very well, we spend ages, Fiona and I, outlining, discussing, brainstorming, always with a bit of wine because it makes it a bit, better. So we
wonder
talk
it
a
took
lot.
ages.
We always, it's always our little glass, and then we talk about the characters and the plots and everything. And once we're ready, that we know our subject very well, then we write, it depends really, but a scene each. So Fiona would start, I continue, and when she starts, I read, and then I edit, and then, I share my edits with Fiona, then I write, she edits, and then we continue like that till the end.
Yeah.
But sometimes, even though we're outlining a lot, our characters sometimes can be free, and they take us to places that we never planned before, which is the magic that is happening to our stories.
That's right. I tend to start with a theme where Sophie comes at it with an idea, and I like to work to a theme if I have one, but I'm not too worried if I don't.
The thing is, when we're outlining, very, very often we really know what the theme is because we're circling through the same idea and what we want to say. And I would say that we have a theme anyway. In our stories, definite theme. You can't really write a story without a theme. I mean, I'm a real theme geek in the sense of the theme, even though you can't see it, it's not obvious, it's still there and it carries the story, so
it carries the story. It's like the spine or backbone of it.
Do you, just on that, when I'm thinking of theme when I'm writing, a lot of times it's very closely connected to the characters, so it's not like coming through the plot as much as it is coming through the character growth. Do you find that as well, or is it more in the plot?
Absolutely, it comes through character growth.
For me, it's just like a color that stains everything, the characters, the plot. It's the theme is like a diamond, and you see all the sides of the diamond, and it's a different color. Depending on the light. So each character is going to show a side of that theme, because the theme is not like it's got so many colors. So you need to explore that when you explore the theme, and most of the time you don't have the time and space to explore the whole theme. You just explore a little bit of it, depending on how many characters you have.
90 minutes isn't long, or even 100 minutes. It's not much space to get a deep theme in, to go far into it. So that's what we do. That's how we keep busy. We spend our spare time. She doesn't have any spare time.
I don't. We rarely missed our appointments. We have a weekly appointment.
Yeah, we're very disciplined, actually.
Very, very disciplined. And it's very rare. One of us is very sick or something just came up and it's impossible, because we do that on a Sunday night. And no, I don't know your Sunday night, but Sunday night normally is quite quiet. You get ready for the week ahead. So normally we're sure not to miss that appointment. So we're very disciplined. And it happens that sometimes we work overtime during the week when it's not Fiona's fault. It's my fault when I have some more free time.
Well,
How long are those appointments? Those Sunday night meetings?
Generally about an hour. Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about because we've normally done pages in the previous week. So we want to talk about those, and we put in script notes while we're writing, so they act as prompts to help remind us what points we wanted to bring up. Yeah.
When do you talk about business? If the whole hour meeting is writing, when do you have business conversations?
Well,
the thing is, we are friends as well. It's funny because I don't know if the way we met, we were actually working for each other when we met. We met through Lucy Hay Facebook group that was Bang to Write.
Yeah.
And
We know
I think
her.
you know Lucy Hay. And I think I contacted Fiona for one of my early screenplay, and you edited it. And then you said, do you mind having a look at my screenplay? And for a year or two, we were exchanging screenplays like that. And we became buddies. We became buddies this way. And then we became friends, and it became completely natural for us to work together. And now I don't even see a life without Fiona, because even though we do our own projects that are completely different, our own writing, the one we do together, not only they're fun, and we're planning anyway, we were talking about business, we are planning to do some shopping with our scripts soon. And we're working quite hard to have not 2 scripts, but maybe 3, if it's possible, before we do.
Yeah.
We talk. Sunday evening is for our writing, but we talk during the week because we are friends as well.
Yeah.
The second one, what's the difference between when you were learning how to work together on the first one based on working together on the second one? Is it faster? Is it slower? You already have a shorthand, obviously, I imagine.
I think it's faster. It's faster because we've settled on a genre, which is rom-com.
Well, actually, Fiona, I was thinking for the third we might change, but I'll tell you later.
Yeah. Okay.
We were here for it. We got to hear that announcement first.
No, I've got to speak to my partner first. So
Emily, we're writing a set of encyclopedias next.
Yeah.
I thought I would announce that here in front of everybody.
Oh boy.
That'll take you a while.
All right, continue with your answer.
So you were saying, Fiona, that at the moment we've been working on RomComs. The first and the second one is RomComs.
And it's a comfortable area for us. So we're kind of knowledgeable about how we work together, and also enjoy the fact that we've come at it with different skills, because our experience, our writing experience and our life experience is quite different. So we have a lot of skills to bring together. That's right.
Yes, and I think also we're so different in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I like it that way because it's challenging for both of us. And rom-com was easy for us because, as I mentioned earlier, we have a glass of wine, and for a rom-com you need to laugh a lot and to make the and that's the thing that we like as well, because we outlined the story, but sometimes when it's our turns to write, so let's say that a week ago it was my turn to write, and I made Fiona giggle because she wasn't expecting what I wrote, And this week she made me giggle because I didn't see it coming either. So even though we both know the story and we know where it's going, we make each other laugh, and this is.
Yeah, and we're not afraid to change the story, the outline. If a character says, I'd rather do this than that, then we go with it.
I was going to ask about that because I feel like writing on my own, I'm constantly changing things as I go. And I'm like, oh, this character really needs to do this instead. And, this plot twist is a little too obvious. Let me have them do this thing. And so what do you do when you're in the middle of writing and you're like, this is going a different way than we talked about?
We talk about it and we thrash it out and we come to an agreement. But also, when you're stuck on your own, your partner often has a way out, a solution, and I really enjoy collaborating for that.
I feel like that would be wonderful. Like, there's so many times when I've been writing where I'm like, I need another opinion from somebody who knows the story as well as I do, right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I will run things by a family member or somebody I've talked to the story about with, but it's not the same as someone who is like just as deep into the story as you are. I feel like that would be really neat.
I hope I don't sound lazy by saying that.
No, not at all.
Yep.
I've been in partnerships that haven't worked and it's been a struggle, and when you find someone you can work with, that's really gold dust and you should hang on to it.
Is there hang on to each other. Is there Emily can tell you this. I'm a very slow collaborator. And so I've written a screenplay before with Tully Archer. Hi Tully, if you're watching. And she could write, trying not to exaggerate, 6 scenes to every one of mine, where you guys are going back and forth. And it's been a while. It's been, I don't know, 8 years maybe. And so now it would probably be 5 to 1 instead of 6 to 1. So you don't have that issue because you're going back and forth scene, right? Like
that's right.
It doesn't matter who's faster because you just have a week to get a scene done.
That's right.
Well, I think we're as fast as each other, I think, in terms of writing.
Yeah.
That's why
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was a matter of timing and person. I've never thought about collaborating with anyone before, Fiona, and it came so naturally.
It does.
That's because we spent a lot of time reading each other's work, and even though it was different work, completely different work, because Fiona has a big passion for history, and mythology, and I'm more thrillers and mystery, and I'm dark on my own. I'm very dark. I wouldn't write a comedy on my own, and I think it's also the genre we have chosen, because comedy is the most difficult genre to write, if you ask me, because you need to make yourself laugh, but you need to make the other people laugh, and everybody has a different kind of humor. And on your own, I find it really complicated to be a funny person when you're actually a writer and you have to sit down and bleed some words on the paper, on the screen, to type some lines. Yes, of course, you can have ideas or situations or a character that can be funny, or even a line that can be funny. But it's very difficult to make it 90 pages or plus. You need someone, because writing is such a lonely business. You need someone to get you out your head. And I think what I wanted to say earlier about Fiona and I is, like, we don't take each other very seriously. I mean, we take our work seriously, but when we work together, it's pleasure more than work.
Yeah. It is. And I think it works because you can only have one person in charge. Like, Sophie, you are in charge of this concept, and that's the way I approach it. But I contribute ideas and I write my stuff and I put forward an argument for when a character will do something surprising, and I think we both do that.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm in charge. I think you say that because I'm the crazy one that comes with crazy ideas. Hey, let's do that thing. And then Fiona goes, okay, it's just because I've got so many ideas coming from everywhere. And Fiona helps me to organize them and say, okay, let's organize all this thing. And because sometimes I go, the last one came to the fact that I was I was walking in my city and I discovered the place and I was completely charmed by the place. And suddenly, by being inside the place, I had lots of ideas and I called Fiona and I said, this is the next one. And that's why she thinks I'm in charge. But in fact, we outlined the whole thing together.
We do, but you have a clearer idea, clearer handle on this concept than I do. You can see it with such vision, and
thank you.
Tend to go along with it and say, like, let's try this and let's try that. But we work well together.
Yes.
And one thing I'd say with hindsight was, before I got serious about writing, I never would have called myself a comedy writer. I never would have thought that I could do it. But it's amazing what you can do when you try.
That's true.
So that was the perfect opening. So during this last 3 minutes, okay, it's going to get uncomfortable here.
Right.
I'm sensing not plotting and character differences. I'm sensing, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a confidence level difference between the two of you. And Fiona, because one saying I'm in charge, no, you're not in charge. And you're not. I won't take that label. I'm not in charge. And then Fiona just said she wasn't comfortable saying that she was a comedy writer, but now she is. Now that she has this partner. So talk about each of your own respective confidence levels and and how working together has either solidified what you thought about yourself or changed what you thought about yourself.
From my experience, it's given me more confidence because I accept Sophie's way of doing things, and I watch how her approach, and it's different from mine, so I've adopted some of it.
Thank you. Well, I don't think, okay, to go back to the question of confidence, I don't believe in confidence. Who's got confidence? Especially when you're a writer. I mean, firstly, when you watch it, not even a writer, I'm not even talking about a writer, a person that you meet, you think they've got confidence. No one has confidence. No one has confidence. And then on top of that, you put a writer. I mean, no, that doesn't exist. For me, that doesn't exist.
I mean, we're all writers, right? And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to put yourself out there. That's one thing we all experience, I think.
So, John, to answer your question, none of us has. I mean, I can speak for Fiona as well. We don't have confidence at all. We just get on with what we've got to do. Yeah. It's just like, we've got to write, we'll write. And then what I said to Fiona, and I keep saying to Fiona, because I find the first draft so difficult to write. So in order to get rid of it, I always say to Fiona, listen, if it's not all right, we edit it on the second draft, but keep going. And Fiona's like, oh yeah, you're right. And then now the second one, it's going faster because now we're like, we write, we correct a little bit ourselves. We're like, okay, are we going the right way? Yeah, we are. And we continue. But the reader's job will be on our second draft, where we are going to be very critical about our writing, very critical about each scene. I don't know if you remember, Fiona, but the first one, we wrote it, but then we spent a lot of time editing the first one. And each time it was getting better, because we thought we were funny at first at some scenes, and we were looking at it, it's like, it's not funny enough. Yeah, no, it made us laugh when we had a glass of wine, but when actually you write the second, when you read it the second time, it's like, we really need to push it a bit further because this is not funny.
Yeah.
This is all gonna, trust me, I'll put a bow on this and tie it together. Where were each of you raised, like from age 0 to your teenage years? What country were you raised in? And did your parents encourage your creativity or discourage it, or were neutral towards it from each of you?
Jon Meyers asking the personal questions.
Fiona, do you want to start or I start?
Well, I grew up in the UK and my family is crazy, so we moved around a lot, and I've been to more schools than I could count, and I've always loved English and history, and my parents weren't interested in my creativity at all. So there's your answer.
I heard that in one of your previous answers. Sophie?
Same. I grew up in a very gloomy suburb of Paris, and my parents are not big readers, and so I didn't have books around or anything. And it's one French teacher. So I grew up in France, and one French teacher realized I was about 10 or 11 that I didn't have books. So she was feeding me books one after another. And that's Madame Boudboul. I love her forever. And after that, I think all my teachers I wasn't very good at school. I did the whole school thing and studies and everything, but it wasn't my thing. And teachers tend to say that I was always elsewhere. That's when started really actually creating another world than the one I was living. And no, my parents didn't support my creativity at all. This generation of parents, writing, film directing, acting, it's a joke, And my mom wanted me to be a banker. So I had to. I think it's like for all of us there, writing. It's for us. You can't do anything else. You have to.
Right.
It's you're born with it, and then it's like a nice disease that you carry all your life. If you write, it's painful, but if you don't write, it's even more painful.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because talking of writers and confidence, I've moved through the underconfident stage. I can't do this. I can't possibly do this. And I've had all the bad reviews, all the criticism from film experts, all the criticism from expert writers, and this is wrong with your script, and this is wrong with your books, and I've just worked through it. I've just said to hell with it now, because I want to do my thing. I'm happy.
That's like, because I was just rewatching our episode with Lucy, and she was talking about asking yourself what's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
And then going, I can cope with that. And it's like, you had all those critiques, but then you go, oh, I made it through that. And I still love writing, and it's still worth it to me.
That's what I was going to say. That's so right.
Yeah, but some critics are good though. So some critics they make you grow.
Yes,
they do.
Absolutely, it's an important
when
part.
it resonates with your work, and you think about it, it's never nice to receive a critic, but when you think about it and calmly, and you think actually he's right or she's right, I should work on that. It's good guidance.
Yeah.
Well, I found a editor online, and I found a beta reader online, and they've been absolutely brilliant, and I could just hug them. They perform, they do different roles, and they're both really good friends now. And one of them's had to give up because she's doing her own writing, and another one has been ill. So I'm not sure if she's working or not. But I really miss those guys, you know? I'm talking about my fiction here.
Mm-hmm.
For screenwriting, I've had lots of lovely mentors. Yeah.
So in a future episode, we're talking about confidence, and the reason I asked those questions is so we'll call her a case study. There's a woman named Claire in what we're going to talk about in that episode. She almost said word for word what Sophie said about confidence is irrelevant. You just get the job done. You just go to work and get it done. Like, it's not even a consideration. And she was raised in the UK from 0 to 19, and then now she's a full-grown woman in America. That, like, you sounded just like her when you said that. As far as the thought process was, I think that to me that's fascinating. I love that, and I don't. Based on the 26 people we've talked to so far, I don't think a lot of people have that worldview. Do you, Emily?
I do think, because I've been here too, is you do assume that everybody else has the confidence because they're doing the thing that you want to be doing that you don't have the confidence in, and so you just assume that they must have the confidence.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but have you ever met someone that you think, gosh, this person is so confident, and then you get close to that person and something happens and you see that person crumbling, and it's just like, oh, where's your confidence? And that's when it made me realize two things, actually: that no one is confident. Yes, sometimes you have a burst of confidence, when you get high about something, you get a compliment and you get high and you're like, whoo, I feel confident. But that doesn't last long, does it? And a lot of people wear masks because you have to wear a mask. In society, the society nowadays wants you to wear a mask, and if you don't look confident, you know.
That's right. That's right.
That's why for me, confidence is a joke. It's you do the thing and then you get the confidence, but that doesn't last. It's not. You don't become a confident person. It's the more you do one thing, the more you get confident at it. It's not something that you buy and you carry it with yourself all the time. It's not. Our characters, when you think about your writing, are your characters confident, or do they act like they can be confident?
They're not confident.
They're not confident. They're playing a show. It's a show. Exactly. So when you understand that everybody is vulnerable, your characters are vulnerable. It's the day I understood that everybody was suffering at one level or another. I understood that, it's not because we're suffering we have to stop. We are on Earth and we have to do something with ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like the notion, and it's funny, John, you're talking about confidence, because this week I realized about something else. It's about being a decent person. All my life, I wanted to be a decent person. People want to be a decent person, do the right thing, help people, and, but when you think about it, you can't be a decent person all the time. It's like, for instance, I can order a book from a big online shop, and that is not good for the environment. There are so many things that we do in life that is not decent. So I'm painting the humanity as very dark right now. They're not confident and they're not decent, but they're vulnerable. We are not as strong as we think we are. And that's why we're making stories. That's why we're making stories, is to say, hey, you're not on your own. You know, you don't need to shame yourself. We're all there. We're all feeling that. We're all feeling low like that at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what I find beautiful storytelling in general.
I've actually had that experience recently where, so I'm really easily embarrassed. Like if I make a mistake, or not just a silly mistake, but like, oh, I really said this thing and I shouldn't have. And then I watch story, like I'll read a book or I'll watch a show where somebody does something similar and then they work through it. And then like nobody hates them for it. It's, you don't hate the character for it. You're just like, oh, I actually love the character for it because now I relate to them more and they relate to me and I feel connected in that way. And it helps me be empathetic towards myself because it's like, oh, I don't hate that character. Why am I so upset with myself? Why am I beating myself up over this? Like you have that connection with the characters that kind of, I think, helps you love yourself more.
Absolutely.
That's right.
But when you think, you know, one of the last TV series that I watched was Dead to Me. In that show, I mean, the women, the women are not doing. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you've seen it. No, okay, I'm not gonna spoil it then.
Okay.
But they're lovable. They're so lovable, yet they're not doing decent things. And that's mastery when a screenwriter, Lee Spellman, by the way, write characters that you love, even though they're completely flawed. You know, and then it's hard. We do that for characters, but it's hard to love someone in real life when you know they're completely flawed. You know,
Yeah.
and that's our job.
Yeah.
We need to be compassionate with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Hemingway. Is it Hemingway that said writing is about understanding, you know, and not judging, but understanding? And that's my philosophy, you know. The judging is so easy, understanding is less easy, and it's important.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. One of the highlights of my life was to go on a screenwriting retreat in Costa Rica by Jacob Kruger. He was our host, and he's a fascinating guy. I could listen to him for hours, and he can talk endlessly about films and script writing and filmmaking. And I always remember that he said that if somebody doesn't like your script, if somebody doesn't hate it, you haven't done your job properly. And I always hold that in mind because it's true. Not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to see from your perspective. And you have to accept that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
We've never had two people give a single call to action before.
I know. Should they give 2 calls to action?
I want them to collaborate, and let's watch them come up with one together. Like, go back and forth.
Oh, I would say, Sophie, the idea I had was to try writing a scene with a fellow writer stranger, someone who you're not used to working with, and to see if it would work, to find out if you spark on each other.
Really? Is that your call to action?
Yeah.
Why would I cheat on you?
Talking about us in particular, I'm talking about other people who want to form a writing partnership but don't know how to go about it. They should find someone in their library group, in their writing group, and suggest working on a couple of pages together.
You two met on Bang to Write. That our listeners, viewers, could find someone in the Write Better Together community.
True.
And
They
write
could.
together.
They could. That's a brilliant idea.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that. I'm just saying that's how you two met, is in a online community.
I think to continue your call of action, instead of doing a big project, they should try to find someone to do a small project first.
Yeah.
something's a short film or a short story, to see how it works.
A minute or two.
We
Yeah,
could write a joke together.
yeah, or a joke. Absolutely, a TikTok, a 1 minute TikTok story
Yeah, yeah,
with a joke, because some TikToks, they can be mini short films.
Yes.
They tell
Yeah.
a story.
yeah.
And what I find amazing is some TikTokers can make a story and a new story over and over again. It's like, how do you, wow, the amount of content that person's got, and that could be something they could do as a call to action.
Yeah.
And also, I think the other thing, they should start also the way we did it, Fiona, is like if they've got a project, they exchange it with another writer.
Yeah.
And then they talk about it, it's an exchange, and then they see if they like the same. I wouldn't say the same genre or style, because we don't have the same style. I mean,
No.
in the sense of we're not interested. It's not that we're not interested, because that's wrong. I love what Fiona does on her side. It's not what it's not.
We come at it from different skills.
Yeah.
We have
But
different skills.
To be honest, the call for action is to always make buddies, because it's a lonely business being a writer. And it's so nice to have someone
It
there
is.
that understands what you're going through, and what understands you and understand your writing. Yeah, because it's your parents or your family or your boyfriend or your wife, or it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not quite the same. It's not the same critic, Someone
No.
that does exactly the same thing than you, but is not jealous of what you do. That's something there are always people out there, waiting for other writers, waiting for that kind of support.
Yeah.
What a lovely note to end that all
love
on.
that.
Emily, how do they get the call to action to us? And then
So
that was so
listeners
beautiful.
can send their responses to this. You can share what you did together, or you can just share the experience. You can respond to the YouTube video if you're watching there, or if you're listening on a podcast, you can go to writebettertogether.com/podcast and find our show notes and respond to that. Or if you're finding this episode on social media, you can respond there as well. And we will find you somehow.
Even if you're in France or in the UK,
Absolutely.
we will find you. You all don't know this. The first copy of our book sold this week in France.
Oh,
wow! Not even in the States. So anyway, final words, final thoughts.
Be afraid of the blank page. Just do it. Quote a famous footwear.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just summarize what I said. Is don't wait to be confident to do something, because you could be waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
That was great, both of you.
Yeah.
It got dark in Fiona's world.
It did.
During
The
our
sun is
episode.
going down.
The
My
sun went
world as
down.
well. My world as well.
I need to put some lights on.
It's late there. You all need to go to bed.
Come to America where it's still daylight.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
All right,
Thank you both so much. It was so nice to talk to you and to meet you. I love what you all are doing together.
Thank you. You too, John
Thank you
and
for
Emily.
having us.
Yes, thank you for having
Yeah.
us. It was wonderful
Yeah.
to meet you as well. I hope we
Yeah.
keep in touch.
Yes, for sure.
We're back. Wow.
Wow.
I have things to say.
Ooh, what do you have to say?
Well, what's your initial response? What do you think about their collaboration process? That's not a leading question.
I kept thinking about how hard it would be to find a partner to write fiction with, right? Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there is something more challenging about writing fiction with somebody. Like, I feel like it'd be really hard to find somebody who connects so well where you're like, we're on the same page, literally, and agree on where the story needs to go, and we actually feed off of each other, and we actually improve on each other's ideas. I did see that, obviously, with our book. But I feel like it's different when we're writing separate chapters. But like you said things in the book that I never would have thought of saying. And I heard that in their conversation as well, that like they're each contributing something different and unique.
And this isn't what I was going to say, but since you brought it up, it reminded me of more of the podcast than the book than we wrote, because they went back and forth and tried to surprise each other. And that's what we do. Like, we had a plan outline for the book, but for the podcast, like 2 people this week have said they thought that this was scripted. And I'm like, that we don't want it to be scripted. Like, I don't know what Emily's going to bring up, and Emily doesn't know what I'm going to bring up. We know a general topic for the guests, and that's it, for better or for worse. So they were surprising each other like we do on the show, I think. I was surprised that voice didn't come up, and I actually wrote it on this card right here, voice, and that it was neither one of their voices. Sophie said she's a little bit darker. Fiona said that she's more historical, but together they blended and made this third voice, it sounds like. And we didn't dig into that.
That was fascinating to me. And I think that's so fun because like it just made me think like how other people can stretch you to do different things. On the voice thing, I wonder if we talked about this a lot with Amy McConnell, and how people do that in fiction, but I wonder in screenwriting, because there's not as much prose, does that change things? But I mean, even then, like you said, even just aesthetic can feel different depending on the person. So I don't know.
Right. You can, if you look at a David Lynch script and you look at a Wes Anderson script, they look different. There's different amount of white space and stuff.
Yeah.
But even with dialogue, it sounded like it was this third voice that was coming up with the dialogue as well. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Okay. And last word on the interview. There are super confident people there are people that mask, and there might be more people that mask, but there are people that are just Teflon bulletproof, and it doesn't matter. Like, you could show them a video of them mispronouncing a word, and they'd be like, I didn't mispronounce that word. It doesn't impact their confidence. Like, I mispronounce words, but I don't care. I mean, I care, but because I don't want to disrespect the word or someone's name. I would care. But I tried to get it right, and I messed it up. What?
I would argue that those super, super confident people may need a little bit of humility.
Yeah, but they do exist. Maybe they shouldn't, but they do.
Maybe they need help.
All right. Good interview.
Hey, Jon Meyers.
Yes. Finally, I get to learn something new.
Maybe. What is the difference between a butterfly and a moth?
Oh, well, first of all, I don't even know why you said maybe, because in a previous episode, I literally said I don't know the difference between a butterfly and a moth, and you're like,
you did?
I know. Yeah,
I don't remember that.
On the death moth, you're like, mine looks like a bumblebee.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't even know the difference between a butterfly and a moth, but it doesn't look like a bee. I literally said that sentence. And then,
do you have any guesses, or do you want me to just go for it?
A butterfly started as a worm or a caterpillar, and a moth starts in an egg. I was doing so well until your expression changed.
They both start off as caterpillars.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I learned this is Hey Emily Brooks too, because part of the reason why I looked have this is because I was like, what is the difference? And then once I saw it described, I was like, well, of course those are the differences. So the first thing is the antennae are a little different. If you look up pictures of moths, they have like feathery antennas.
Oh.
Whereas a butterfly is more like a straight line.
Yeah.
The other thing is the wings. Butterflies have their wings more like spread out like this, whereas spread out. And then the moths have them as more of, it describes it as tent-like. It's like kind of like a tent over their bodies. The other thing is body shape. Moths tend to be like a bit fatter. This is like the only reason. This is the only difference that I could think of, and turns out it's not even like a real difference. You would normally see moths at night, right? Butterflies like to stay warm, so they're going to be out in the sun and during the day, but moths come out at night. But that's not always true because some moths come out during the day too. Habitat is a little bit different as well. Like I said, butterflies need more heat, whereas moths generate heat by vibrating their wings. But butterflies create chrysalises in their pupal stage, while moths pupate in a cocoon. That means whenever we say that a butterfly is in a cocoon,
Yeah.
they're in a chrysalis.
That means I'm going to go vomit now. That's what it means.
The other thing, this is interesting, there are 17,500 species of butterflies, but 160,000 species of moths.
That's interesting.
And if you want to observe moths, because we don't normally see them and they're very beautiful, you can hang a sheet outside at night and shine a light on one side of it to attract them.
Is the final act going to be I have to name every species of moth from the beginning of time?
No.
Okay. That's good.
I am going to put up a picture, though, of the coolest moth I've ever seen. Here it is.
Oh, that is cool.
One more moth fact.
Okay.
There is a moth called the yucca moth that is
Okay.
the only pollinator of the yucca plant.
Oh.
So it's super important. The yucca plant would not exist without this moth, but the moth would also not exist without the yucca moth or the yucca plant, because the baby yucca moths live off of the seeds of the yucca plant, and in order for it to have seeds, it has to be pollinated. So it's like almost like a symbiotic relationship.
The circle of...
It is truly the circle of life.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Tell them what they need to do now if they want to know more about caterpillars.
If you want to learn more about caterpillars, make sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you're listening to. Also, it would be greatly appreciated if you would give us a rating and review wherever you're listening, because that helps other people find us. And at the end of every episode, we say we couldn't have done it without you, and it's true. We couldn't have done it without you. You know what that means? It's time for...
Yes.
The final act.
Oh,
and
yay.
the name of the game, the prize, is a poem that I wrote in college about a moth.
Okay, I'll take it. Has it been published?
It has. It's published in the Adirondack Review back in like 2016 or something.
So I get a used poem
Yeah.
for a prize?
The name of the game is Make It a Mothaphore.
Does this require tools?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you one more fact about moths that is kind of sad, but also kind of cool. And I want you
to cry. You're going to make me cry.
So here's what every week my pastor starts his sermon with, like an anecdote. He looks at his life and finds a metaphor in his life and then starts that off, right? A lot of preachers do that. So I'm going to tell you this fact about a moth, and then I want you to make it a metaphor. It can be for one of your life tenets, or it could be for whatever.
A general metaphor.
Yeah.
Does it have
because it is ripe for metaphors, I think.
Not a simile, as
it could be
blah,
a simile.
Or like blah.
Yeah. However you choose to say it.
Okay.
There needs to be a meaning, like have a meaning behind this thing that I'm about to tell you.
I can do this.
I know you can. So, I recently learned that moths are not attracted to light. That is,
Fake news.
It's not...
Fake news. Fake news.
They do go towards light. But it's not because they're like, ooh, light, it's so pretty. I want to, like, I'm attracted to it. I want to be near the light. It's so great. It's so warm. This is so sad. Really, the light is confusing them, because butterflies and moths are oriented towards, like, they orient themselves by the light of either the sun or the moon. And because lights are coming from different directions, makes them orient towards that light instead, and they just don't know like which direction to go. So they're trying to orient themselves towards like the sun or the moon, and then this other light is distracting them and they get disoriented and they get stuck.
The flashlight you shined on a sheet earlier confuses them.
It confused them.
Okay. That's the fact?
That's the fact.
And I have to turn that into a snappy phrase.
Take your time. I gave you a hard one.
Does the light... This is not the phrase. Does the light portend future death?
What?
They guide themselves by the sun or the moon, so they see the fake light, and it messes up their guidance system.
Yeah.
But does it have anything to do, like, they go to a street light and they end up dying? Does reconfiguring your path due to fake light as opposed to the sun and the moon, does that wind up always killing you? No. Sometimes killing you.
No, I
Could
don't think
kill you, but
it could, right, if you get stuck in the light, but they're not always going to get stuck in the light.
They go to the flashlight and the sheet, it's not going to kill them.
No.
Well, first of all, there's already a moth to a flame. There's already that. So I have to not do that one, which is where my brain is going. So that's messing me up.
But there's new information to it.
Yeah, I know, but I can't
You
read
could add to it.
No, I'm not a plagiarist. To come up with my own.
It doesn't have to be a quippy phrase. It could just be like, this teaches us this thing.
Who's writing this metaphor? Me or you?
Oh, I'm signing it.
So I'm writing it, so it has to be quippy. So this is where my brain's going. Listeners, viewers, you're going to walk through this metaphor with me. So back in the 70s, before we were born, like the word groovy was something cool.
Yeah.
And then the word heavy was like similar to what it is now, in that like it's very deep. That philosophy lecture was so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And so very deep. But there was a song, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. Have you ever heard that song?
Mm-mm.
That doesn't make sense, because he's not deep. First of all, it's not talking about his weight, and it's not talking about like the comedian George Carlin would be like, "Ooh, politics so heavy," and so he doesn't mean like he ain't heavy. He's my brother. He's not deep. He's my brother. He doesn't have gravitas. He's my brother. That's not a compliment. And
Where are you going with this?
And so I'm going to real light versus fake light, real heaviness versus fake heaviness. I'm working it out through with the listener and the viewer with me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not artificial heaviness. It's not counterfeit heaviness. It means something. It's not artificial light. It's not counterfeit light. It's an actual light. It's just not. It's a duplicate. It's a replica of the sun or the moon. It's not natural light. It's artificially produced light. But the heaviness in that song doesn't appear to be used in the literal sense, the sun or moon sense, or in the artificial sense of the flashlight. And so, like a moth, am I using it's only moth, not a butterfly, right?
Either one.
Like a moth, but a flame would be natural. Would be natural light. A moth, okay, this is not going to be a life tenet, but this is one for the annals of history. Make this a hashtag, people. Like, I want this to TikTok viral. Like, like demure. This metaphor is so demure. A moth to a flame is like a brother to... How heavy is that? There you go. Did I win the poem or not? A moth to a flame is like heavy to a substance.
I'm not sure if I understand it.
It's heavy,
you-
isn't it?
You at least completed the task.
It's heavy, isn't it, man?
Yeah, it's deep.
What's the poem that I win?
Do you want me to read it now or give it to you later
I
and put
wanna
it in the
know
show
the-
notes?
It can be in the show notes, but I want to know the title. Or you can read it.
It's called To a Moth.
To a Moth.
To
Okay,
a
read it.
Moth.
If the word heavy is in it, I'm going to faint.
I'll have to remember. Hold on. Pulling it up.
So that whole conversation I just had with the listener and the viewer, that circular conversation, we will find words in this poem that I've never seen before that came out of my mouth during that conversation. How much you want to bet? We don't gamble, but I'll bet you there's some commonality there. You watch.
We'll see.
Okay, let's go. Let's see.
To a Moth. You didn't hide your adolescence like the others, cloaked in construction paper shells or cotton ball casings, stuck in the folds of leaves like gum in wads of paper. Instead, you clung to the corner of your glass house in a felted egg, as thin as membrane, revealing your translucent body, a wax candle, and a frosted window. You stripped your false legs first, gathering them at your insect feet like slippers cast off before bed, and then I saw gray wings budding from your back, blanketing you for deeper sleep. I found you on the wall by the window as if you had tried to abandon your nest unnoticed and unrecognized beneath your humble wings. I cupped you in my hands, felt you flutter against my palms like a heart in a ribcage, and I let you go, knowing your fate was to flock around light like the shadow of a greater winged creature, hoping for sunrise to color the night upon your back.
Whoa, I get goosebumps.
Mission
Wow.
accomplished.
So read the blanket line again.
The blanket line?
Yes.
I saw gray wings budding from your back, blanketing you for deeper sleep.
Yeah, like
Heavy blanket, deep.
very deep, heavy,
Very
heavy
deep.
as in weightiness, heavy as in a deep meaning.
There you go.
That's the connection. I had nothing to do with it. It was divinely orchestrated. I wanted to add that too when we were talking about the book earlier and we were giving the reader credit. I'm very careful to give God the credit for, because once we wrote it, we can't make the connection, like that connection where I just connected all that and I was saying all that with the viewer reader, and only God can orchestrate all that and make a connection between the word heavy and moths and this poem. I mean, that's all I wanted to say is those connections, they're not manufactured. They happen. They're also not happenstance. They happen for a reason. That's all.
Well, friends,
We couldn't have done it without you.
you made me go so fast to catch up with you. Oh my goodness.